In the year 1975, John, an agent in a black coat and a hat, has traveled back in time to stop a bomb blast. He tries to defuse the bomb and realizes someone's presence there. It's the guy who placed the bomb, Fizzle Bomber. They start firing bullets at each other and get into a fight. In the meantime, the bomb explodes and burns John's face. An unknown third person, Barkeep, enters the room and helps John get a hold of his time machine. Using that machine, he returns to his real-time zone, the year 1992. John's face is completely burnt, so he undergoes plastic surgery, changing his appearance entirely. Over time, John recovers from his injuries and receives his final mission from his agency. Actually, John works for an agency that provides time-traveling devices to its agents to go back in time and prevent the most destructive incidents in history. The bomb incident John tried to prevent earlier killed over 10,000 people, and their motive was to simply prevent it. Anyway, John returns to the year 1970 and works as a bartender. As he works at the bar, he renames himself Barkeep. He continues his job there, and one day he encounters a young boy who turns out to be John from the year 1970. He recognizes his younger self, but the younger John doesn't recognize him due to his changed face structure after the plastic surgery. They both start talking for a while, and young John becomes emotional, so he shares his story with him. Young John didn't have any parents and was raised in an orphanage. When he was born, he wasn't a boy but a girl named Jane. Due to some extraordinary powers, no one took care of him and remained alone. He grew up and learned to adapt to the environment as Jane. As time passed, he desired to do something meaningful and got an opportunity to take part in a space program. During his medical checkup, a doctor named Robertson discovered something unusual in his body, but he doesn't reveal what it was. We'll find out later, so keep watching. They didn't allow her to participate in the space program and used her fight with another girl in the program as an excuse to remove her. She had no choice but to move on. As time went by, she met a boy and fell in love with him. They even had sexual relations and were deeply in love. One day, he asked her to wait on a park bench and left, but he never returned. After he left, she realized she was pregnant and gave birth to a baby. The doctor informed her that her delivery was complicated due to having both female and male hormones, along with slightly developed female and male organs. In order to successfully deliver the baby, they needed to remove the female organ. This was the reason why she was removed from the program earlier and didn't get the chance to participate. Nevertheless, she gave birth to the baby and had to live life as a male, which saddened her greatly. Someone kidnapped her newborn baby from the hospital bed, and she was completely devastated. She started dressing and living as a male, changing her name from Jane to John. In the current year, John shares his story with Barkeep, acknowledging that it may sound unbelievable. However, Barkeep assures John that he believes him, as he was listening to his own life story. Barkeep even promises to assist John with everything, including giving him a chance to confront the person who made him pregnant and provide an answer as to why he was left. John follows Barkeep, who takes him in a time machine, traveling back to the year 1963. In this year, John, wearing a hat and carrying a gun, encounters Jane, who doesn't recognize herself as she has transformed into a boy in the future. However, John recognizes Jane. He meets his past self and falls in love with Jane instantly. The mysteries are unraveled, as John realizes that he is the person who fell in love with Jane, had a physical relationship with her, and impregnated her. Meanwhile, Barkeep observes them from a distance, using his time machine to return to the year 1975. His objective is to defuse a bomb he failed to stop when he was John. Upon arrival, he discovers someone planting the bomb and engages in a fight with them, pursuing them thereafter. Fizzle Bomber, upon noticing Barkeep, initiates a fight, resulting in Barkeep losing consciousness. Upon regaining consciousness, Barkeep witnesses a person burning before his eyes. He recognizes that the burnt individual is himself and his time machine, so he assists the burnt person, John, in gaining control of the machine, enabling him to return to the year 1992. Barkeep now comprehends that when he initially traveled to the past, the person who aided him was himself. This realization shocks him. Barkeep travels back to the year when Jane gave birth to their child and steals the baby, essentially taking his own child. He transports the baby to the year 1945 and places her in an orphanage where he himself grew up as Jane, when he was a girl. Afterward, he returns to the year 1963, where he left John with Jane, having spent several months there. From a distance, he calls out to John, who asks Jane to wait and approaches Barkeep. John explains that he cannot leave Jane alone, as her life is consumed by loneliness. To persuade John to accompany him, Barkeep reveals that he is John's future self, believing in John's story and bringing him here because he heard his own story. Hearing this, John becomes exceedingly confused, as in the past he was a girl, whereas in the future, he is a boy whose appearance doesn't match his past self. Nevertheless, upon hearing the story, John agrees to join Barkeep. This becomes the moment when Jane's lover abandons her completely. They travel to the year 1985, where Barkeep takes John to the agency where he works, aiming for John to work for the same agency and replace him. Barkeep wishes to quit his job involving time travel. Leaving a message for John, Barkeep returns to the year 1975, a few months before the bomb blast occurs. However, upon attempting to permanently shut down his time travel machine upon arrival, an error prevents him from doing so, meaning that he could still use his time machine. When he looks at his papers, he finds an unusual paper where he discovers a clue to locate Fizzle Bomber from his agency boss, Robertson. By utilizing the clue, he manages to find Fizzle Bomber, holding a gun in his hand with the killer standing right in front of him, ready to kill. He aims the gun, but before he can see the killer's face, he realizes that it is his older self. The bomb planter, the agent, and the person who aided the agent are all the same individual. Barkeep is shocked to witness this truth. He loses his mind, pondering how he could kill so many people and perform such destructive tasks. He panics. He knows nothing about his future self or why he becomes a criminal in the future. John's future self is not in good condition. He is like a person who has lost his mind, exhibiting abnormal behavior and poor mental health. The reason for this might be the overuse of the time machine. By traveling extensively into the past, he has lost his ability to think clearly. The older John asks Barkeep if he submitted the reports regarding his inability to shut down the machine to the agency, and he starts laughing because he never did, meaning that he can travel in time without the knowledge of his agency. The older John tells Barkeep that he must accept him just as he accepted his past self and embrace his future self. However, Barkeep refuses to listen. Barkeep finds it hard to believe that he is the same John who planted the bomb in 1975, the John who killed 10,000 people. He feels guilty and shocked, so he kills his future self, but his actions do not alter the future. He continues to travel in time relentlessly, desperately attempting to change the future but failing no matter how hard he tries. He becomes desperate and frustrated, staring at his time machine. This is an endless loop where John is forever trapped, unable to change anything. He is stuck in it because he couldn't abandon his time machine and continued traveling without informing his agency. And thus, the movie ends here. Now, what events do you think triggered all these events? Was it when John became an agent, or when he stole the baby, or when John met Jane? Answer in the comments.